There are two types of mammals. One is called as the placental mammal and the marsupial mammal. How you use the organ, based on that the development of the organ will take place. So all that nowadays people will not believe. So that was Lamarck's theory that is used, and this is theory. We all know that those organisms which are capable of evolving themselves into that challenging situations of the environment or their particular habitat, those will survive. The others will get perished. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to another session on chapter 7, that is evolution of 2nd PUC biology. I am Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysore, Temple of Excellence. So in the previous session of this chapter, we had discussed about the evidences of evolution, wherein we came to know that evidences for evolution are being found in different forms, such as in the form of fossils, which is called as paleontological evidences. Then based on the features or the internal structure or the bone structure of the organism and the external features of the organism, that is anatomical and morphological evidences. Then we came to know about, based on proteins and the genes, there are certain evidences which is called as biochemical evidences, and also there is anthropological evidences, wherein we came to know that how during a certain period of time or in one particular year, the dark winged moth were abundant, and in another year the white winged moth were abundant because of industrialization, and also how the interference of man creates a evolution among the organisms sharing the earth along with man. In today's session, we shall study about adaptive radiation, wherein we shall discuss about Darwin's finches and also about marsupial radiation, and we shall also discuss about a convergent evolution, and also we shall discuss about the biological evolution, taking into Darwin's and Lamarck's theory into consideration. So to begin with today's session, we shall first understand what is adaptive radiation. So adaptive, the word itself says the organisms, they evolve in order to adapt to that particular environment. So here, say for example, there is one particular organism. From that organism or animal, all the other organisms have evolved because they are living in that particular area. Say for example, if an organism is living in a particular environment, that is in an island where the environment is very hot, it is full of predators and all that. So at that time what happens, they will start to evolve themselves in order to thrive to that particular environmental situation that they have to face in that particular island, right? So in one particular organism, that itself, it starts to evolve, giving rise to different types of organisms of the same species or of different species. So here, in adaptive radiation, the process of evolution of different species. So here it is the process of evolution of different species in a given geographical area, starting from a point and relating to other areas of geography or habitats, and that is called as adaptive radiation. It is nothing but there will be one particular organism living in an island, any of the island, say for example any of the geographical area. So here, if that particular geographical area having too much of rain, then the animal living there should adapt itself in order to survive in such an moist environment wherein there is everyday raining, right? So likewise there would have been one organism, and that organism would have adapted into different forms, giving rise to different characters. Now what happens here is there will be different characters in the other organisms as well. So maybe here we have an organism A, then B, C. So this is the one that is the main organism which is thriving in that particular rainforest. So here likewise D, then E, and maybe F. So from here, this organism A would have evolved from this particular organism which I have mentioned here, X, say X. So here, from one particular organism, though different species have evolved, they will have slightly some characteristic of that particular organism. All are different species, but they will have the same characteristic of X here. Why? Because why they have some similar characteristics? Because I gave you the example of them surviving in a rainforest. So in order to survive in that particular rainforest, they'll have to develop features or characteristics which will let them live for longer time, or in order for them to live in that particular habitat for a longer time, right? So that is why this is called as adaptive radiation. So in adaptive radiation, what happens? The evolution of different species in a given geographical area from a point radiating to other geographical area, and from that particular point, say for example, I'll take the example of Galapagos Island. So Galapagos Island may be some organisms which have evolved themselves to live in Galapagos Island. Later on, what they will do is, from that Galapagos Island, they would migrate to some other place. So that is how the distribution takes place. But the main point is the Galapagos Island where the evolution took place. From there, the organisms evolved and then they migrated to different other environmental conditions or different other places and continents and countries. So that is nothing but called as the adaptive radiation. So now, since we know what adaptive radiation is exactly, we shall move on to taking the example of Darwin's finches. That is, Darwin, he was a voyager, right? He liked to travel around the world. So all his theories were based on whatever sightings he found when he was traveling around the world in his ship. We all know that. That is his HMS Beagle ship. He loved to travel around the world, right? So during such a time, he once happened to come and visit the Galapagos Island. So in the Galapagos Island, he noticed that there were certain set of birds which had similar characteristic. They were all finches. All the birds were finches only. But when he looked at a few of the characteristics, there were some dissimilarities. But the species is same. They are all finches. So what was the dissimilarities he observed? He observed that a different variety of beaks he found in the finches, goldfinches. So all are goldfinches, but when you see the beak, so what happened was, usually the goldfinches that were living in the Galapagos Island, they were seed eating. They were herbivores who used to feed on the seed. So their beak were designed in such a way wherein they can peck on the seed, crack open the shells and the nuts, and then feed on the seeds properly. So for proper breaking of the seed and all that, their beaks were evolved in such a way, or designed, or it was designed in such a way. But later on, their beaks became pointed, they became curved, different types of beaks, the shapes of the beak started to change, wherein why did the evolution of the beaks take place? Why did the same species of finches have different kind of beaks? Why? Because they shifted from a herbivorous diet to a carnivorous or a omnivorous diet as well, wherein they started to feed on the insects. So therefore, so obviously, we all know that once if we don't get anything, we prefer eating something else, right? Because for the survival, just like that, the birds, they cannot survive completely on the seeds or completely on the insects. So when the availability of the seeds are not there, they'll have to shift to feeding of the insects. So that is when he found different finches had different types of beaks. But why? Because those finches which used to feed on the seeds, they started to feed on the insects later. So that is why the modification of the beaks arose. Now here, this is one best example for adaptive radiation. Why? Because here, from where did the other golden finches come into existence? It is from the finch that actually was seed eating. Right? So those finches which had a beak designed for seed eating, from those finches itself, few of the population, they started feeding on the insect. So that is when their beak structure started to change or evolve, right? So now it is adaptive radiation. So here, the evolution took place in the Galapagos Island. But nowadays we can see finches in all other parts of the world having different types of beaks, right? How is it possible? Because of adaptive radiation. That is, these finches evolved in the Galapagos Island and then they traveled to other geographical areas or other continents and other countries for their survival. So this is how Darwin, he was the first person to put forward a theory regarding adaptive radiation. So because he spotted about adaptive radiation on the finches, the finches are also called as the Darwin's finches. So this is one best example. Moving on to one more example for adaptive radiation. So we all know that there are two types of mammals. So all these which are pictures I've put here, all are mammals, right? So these are mammals because they give birth to young ones. They are not egg-laying creatures. They actually give directly birth to the young ones. They are mammals. So here, these mammals, among these mammals, there are two types of mammals. One is called as the placental mammal and the marsupial mammal. So there is a difference between the placental mammal and the marsupial mammal. Majority of the animals that are thriving in Australia are nothing but those which are said to be extinct or in the verge of extinction. So likewise, there are both placental mammals there as well as the marsupial mammals. So marsupial mammals are those mammals which have already become extinct or are considered to be extinct because their population is just in countable numbers, very few, and placental mammals have evolved from the marsupial mammals. So always remember, placental mammals evolved from the marsupial mammals. So all these mammals that we see today, which we see today, right, in the zoos or in pictures everywhere, which is existing today, is they are the placental mammals and they have evolved from the marsupial mammals. But marsupial mammals, majority have been extinct. But recently there has been a news wherein they could find that Tasmanian wolf. So the best example that I can give you is Tasmanian devil. So Tasmanian devil was considered to be extinct, but scientists recently have spotted Tasmanian devils in Australian regions. They have spotted them, but it is only limited to Australia. Nowhere else we can find these Tasmanian devils, right? So it is like that. So in the population will be more in one particular region, and from that region it radiates to different other regions. So here we can take the example of wherein they have taken the example of marsupial radiation. So in marsupial radiation means these are the mammals that have become extinct or they are in the verge of extinction. So it is from these organisms, especially marsupial mammals. So it is said that almost all the mammals, most of the mammalian creatures that have evolved are from those which were or from the marsupial mammals which were present in Australia. So that is why they have taken the example of marsupial mammals of Australia. So here Tasmanian wolf. So Tasmanian wolf is completely extinct now. It is nowhere found. We can only see them in the pictures. So this Tasmanian wolf has also evolved from a marsupial mammal. And talking about the tiger cat. So tiger cat also from a marsupial mammal itself. And the banded anteater, that is also from marsupial mammal. So and also we have the marsupial rat. Then comes the kangaroo rat. So this Tasmanian wolf is no longer there, it is extinct, but all the other creatures are still there. Then there is the wombat, then the bandicoot, which is something just like a rodent, bandicoot, then koala, marsupial mole, then sugar glider, all these. So Tasmanian wolf, all these have evolved from where, who is their ancestor? Their ancestors are nothing but the marsupial mammals that lived in Australia. So why did I tell you what is marsupial? What creatures are called as the marsupial mammals? Those creatures or animals which have become extinct or which are in the verge of extinction, and from those animals other organisms have evolved. So why are they considered to be extinct is because in order to adapt to that particular changing environmental conditions in Australia, they have evolved themselves. So maybe that is why the old original creatures would have been completely become extinct, and those who have, so we know about survival of fittest and the natural selection theory, right? So here survival of fittest, if they have to survive, then they need to evolve according to the changes that is taking place in the habitat in which they are living. That is what happened here. So those which evolved have survived, those which haven't have not survived, and they are called as the marsupial mammals. And from the marsupial mammals, all these placental mammals that are there are have evolved from marsupial mammals. Among these, the Tasmanian wolf is not there. It has become extinct. So here marsupial radiation. So marsupial radiation means the marsupial creatures or organisms or animals originated in one particular region or continent. Which is the region I'm talking about here? It is Australia, right? It evolved in Australia. So it was present in Australia. From that marsupial mammals which were present in Australia, all other mammals got evolved, which are now called as the placental mammals, and these placental mammals have been distributed to other parts of the world as well. So that is about adaptive radiation, wherein they have taken marsupial radiation as one of the best examples. So next, talking about the biological evolution. So evolution, biological evolution. So evolution takes place because of natural selection. I have told you. So natural selection means here nature itself decides which organism has to live and which should not. And natural selection is always based on the genetics. Evolution by natural selection is actually a true sense would have started when cellular forms of life with differences in metabolic capacity originated on earth. So there are different cellular forms of life, right? Starting from a unicellular bacteria to a multicellular organism, be it a plant or an animal. There are different cellular forms of life, and these cellular form of life have been able to adapt themselves and survive in this earth because of their different metabolic capabilities or metabolic activities that are taking place in them. So the metabolic activity of an organism changes according to the genetic or the genes, right? So here, based on the genes or metabolic capability, the organisms have survived in this particular earth. So that is the evolution by natural selection. So next, talking about, when we talk about evolution by natural selection, we should talk about Darwin's theory of evolution. So Darwin's theory of evolution, his theory of evolution, actually it is nothing but based on the natural selection. So the essence of Darwin's theory of evolution is nothing but it is about the natural selection, wherein he says that evolution is nothing but natural selection, wherein nature itself decides which organism has to thrive and continue its generation and which has to perish. So we all know that those organisms which are capable of evolving themselves into that challenging situations of the environment or their particular habitat, those will survive, the others will get perished. So the rate of appearance of new forms is linked to the life cycle or the lifespan. So here we cannot say, say for example, bacteria's lifespan is very short, right? The bacteria's lifespan might be short, but the rate of division is very high. We human beings, our lifespan is long, but we can live about 100 years, but our reproducing capacity is very less, right? So we need to take about 9 months if a new baby has to form, right? But bacteria, within a day or within few minutes, they multiply very fast. Based on that, can we decide the capability of an organism to survive? No, it is not possible. So the rate of appearance of new form is linked to both the life cycle as well as the lifespan, because some of the organisms, their life cycle is very short, but their reproducing capability is very high. But there are some organisms whose lifespan is very long, and their life cycle, but their life cycle is very short, means their reproducing capability is very short, means they take a longer time in order to give birth to a new organism or in order to continue the generation. So that is the difference. Say for example, we can take the example of microbes. So these microorganisms are very fast, so they divide very fast, they reproduce very fast, and they have the capability of producing millions of individuals just within hours, as I told you. So here the lifespan of the organism is short, but it is short, and the life cycle is also short. But life cycle is short is an advantage to that particular organism, because new organisms start to evolve, or it can continue its generation very, very fast. That is, millions of individual bacteria cells will get produced within hours. So the division or reproduction rate is very, very fast, right? But when we take the example of a fish or a fowl, any hen or anything or chicken, if we take the example, they take millions of years, as lifespans of these animals are in years. So we know that in order to evolve, what should happen? Generations to generations has to pass, right? But here within hours or within few days, different generations of bacteria would have formed. Therefore, evolution is fast there. But in the case of fish or fowl, they take a lot of time in order to reproduce, right? So in order to multiply or produce then new generation. So that is why they would take millions of years of lifespans of these animals in order to evolve. So that is the difference. So therefore, evolution in terms of natural selection, if we have to consider, we need to take into account both the life cycle as well as the lifespan of the organism. So next, talking about Darwin's theory itself, that is Darwin's theory of natural selection. So what did he say? He said that nature selects for fitness. So those who are fit, those who are capable of adapting to the change, they will survive, whereas the others who are not fit, they will perish. So that is what he meant. So we should always remember that fitness is based on the characteristics which are inherited. So those inherited characteristics actually define a fitness. So inherited characteristic means it is nothing but genes. So remember, Mendel called genes as factors. So during that time itself, the term genes had come into existence. But Darwin did not use the word genes or factors in his theory. He just said nature selects. But actually nature selects. So how does the nature select? It is based on the genes that we have inherited from our parents, right? So if we have the good traits that have come, or the good genes that have come from the parents, that will also decide the fitness of a particular organism, right? So therefore, hence there must be a genetic basis for getting selected and to evolve. So that is true. Say for example, I'm taking a plant. I'm trying to breed a plant. Say plant A and plant B. So when I'm selecting a plant for breeding, will I choose a plant that is having a disease plant? No, right? If I choose a diseased plant for breeding, then the set of seeds that I get after cross-pollinating, say for example, plant A is diseased, plant B is healthy. So now, will I breed plant B with plant A? Obviously, I'll not prefer. So if I breed, what might happen? So I'm breeding plant A with plant B. Plant A is unhealthy, diseased. Plant B is healthy, disease free. So some of the genes that are there in plant A will enter into the next generation, right? So the seeds have formed. Now breeding and all I have done. Now I've got seeds, which is a set of seeds from plant A and plant B. After breeding, seeds have set and I've got a set of seed. So now in that particular seed population, there will be seeds which are carrying the genes of plant A, right? Therefore, they'll have the genes which is fragile to disease, which is susceptible to disease, or which doesn't have resistance towards disease. So therefore, what happens? Those seeds which are fit, having only the healthy genes, or having the genes which carry the traits for resistance to diseases, they will grow well and they will survive. But the other set of seeds which are having the genes which are susceptible to disease and all that, they will not survive properly, they will perish, right? So that is why genetic basis is always very important for evolution. So when evolution take place, genetics or genes has to be taken into consideration. So here that is nothing but, Darwin said that is the fitness is based on the characteristic which is inherited from the parent. So what characteristics are being inherited? So when we have to inherit a characteristic, we take in the genes from the parent, right? So if the parents are healthy and if they maintain a proper lifestyle and all that, then the genes that we inherit from the parents will also be a good gene, right? So that is why genes always need to be considered for getting selected by nature and to evolve. So nature selects only those which are capable of surviving. Why are they capable of surviving? Because they have the genes which will help that particular organism to survive and to evolve. And we can put it in other words saying that some organisms are better adapted to survive in an otherwise hostile environment. It is true, organisms during the course of time, they actually adapt themselves to survive. Say cactus. Can't cactus grow as a mesophyte? Yes, they adapt themselves to desert as well as to mesic conditions, right? Just like that, all the other organisms, they follow adaptive radiation. From one particular geographical area, they will evolve in that particular area and they will move to other areas wherein they will adapt themselves in order to survive for that better conditions, right? So that is nothing but, so therefore this adaptive ability is also inherited in the form of genes. It is being inherited in the form of genes and it has a genetic basis, as I told you. So fitness is always the end result of the ability of an organism to survive in nature and therefore get selected by nature. So fitness means what provides fitness? It is the genes that actually provide fitness. From where is this genes being got? It is got from the parents. It is inherited, right? So therefore genes play a major role in the fitness of an organism and therefore those organisms which are fit will be naturally selected by the nature and the ones which are not fit will be discarded by the nature. They themselves will perish. They will not be able to survive. So this is about biological evolution, how evolution takes place. Not all organisms, so we understood now, not all organisms will evolve. Only those which have good genes inherited will be, and those which have inherited the genes which have the ability to adapt to different environmental situations, only those will survive, the others will perish. So next, talking about two important concepts of Darwin's theory of evolution. So there are two important points which actually are the key concepts for Darwin's theory of evolution. One is called as the branching descent. So branching descent means from one particular organism, different species of organisms have evolved. So why do they have evolved from one particular organism? For survival, right? If they have to survive, they have to evolve themselves. So branching descent is nothing but from one particular organism or animal, all the other organisms or animals would have evolved. Next is natural selection. So in natural selection, nature decides which organism has to survive, complete its life cycle and or should evolve, because it is based on genes here. So those having good genes inherited from their parents, they will survive, whereas those having genes which are not capable of adapting to the environment, they will perish. So that is nature itself selects. So that is natural selection. Next is homologous. So here homologous selection means here homology indicates the common ancestry. So homology means the similarities. We have studied about homologous organs in the previous session, right? While studying about the evolutionary evidences based on structural and that is anatomical and morphological characters. So homology means they actually look similar but their function is different. So wherein we had taken the example of the forelimbs, that is the skeletal structure of the hands or the forelimbs of man, cheetah, then bat, all that we had taken the example, whale, right? So their function is different. Forelimbs of man helps him to do all the activities such as eating food, writing and all that, right? Whereas in cheetah, the forelimbs helps the animal to walk and run. Whereas in dolphins or whales, the forelimbs help them to move easily in the water, glide through the water, right? Whereas in bats, they help them to fly. But the bone structure, the different types of bones that are present in all these skeletal structures of the forelimb, all are same. So they have a similar structure, but their function is completely different. So here, homology also indicates the common ancestry. So based on that, based on the structure of the organism, based on the anatomical structure of the organism, the ancestry can be decided. So that is homology. So homologous or is also one of the important key points. So among these, natural selection, homology also is one of the important key point in the concepts of Darwin's theory of evolution. So now we came to know about the two important key concepts, that is the natural selection and one more is the branching descent, that is from which particular organism all other organisms came into existence or have evolved, or one more is selection of the organisms by nature itself. So here, talking about one more type of evolution which is called as convergent evolution. So convergent evolution. So what is this convergent evolution? We shall see. So convergent evolution means, so here different organisms, they independently evolve different traits. So we can take the example of dolphin and shark. Dolphin and shark, to look, they are almost similar. It looks like as if they have come from the same organism because their traits are also similar. Shark, they also have the fins and all that. Dolphins also have, or the flippers which we call, which help them to swim through the water. Their body structure is similar, streamlined body. The feeding habit is almost similar. The way they live in that water, everything is similar, right? But when we see both of them, what do we think? Oh, their ancestor might be same. They would have evolved from a common ancestor or from a common organism. But it is not true. Means ancestors are entirely different. So that is called as convergent evolution. Means they look as if they have evolved from the same organism. But why do they look same? Means the structure of the body structure or everything, their habit, the way they live, everything looks same. Why? It is because they actually wanted to survive in that particular environmental condition, in that particular habitat in water. Both are water dwellers, both are aquatic. So whatever they need in order to adapt themselves to that aquatic habitat, they would have developed such kind of structures in the body, streamlined body, tail, then flippers and all that they would have developed, gills, everything. But they don't think that they are from the common ancestor. They have evolved from different ancestor. So that is called as convergent evolution. So now we have understood what convergent evolution is. So we shall see the convergent evolution of marsupial, that is marsupial species of Australia, which are nothing but the Australian marsupials and the placental mammals. Australian marsupials were those organisms which were first present in Australia, and from those organisms the nowadays animals that we see, which is called as the placental mammals, have evolved. So here we can see two organisms. We have divided the table into placental mammals and Australian marsupials. So placental mammals, so if you look at marsupial mole, that is that dwells in Australia, and also the mole. So here both are structurally similar, right? They are similar. They have nails to dig the furrow, right? In order to bury themselves deep inside the ground or to burrow themselves, what they do, they have nails so that they can dig the mud. And they also have snout, right? They have a snout in such a way that the soil particles should not enter into the nose. And they also have eyes. It is called as vestigial eyes, means eyes are present but it is of no use here. Why it is of no use? Because these organisms are nocturnal. They are usually not seen outside. They are usually seen in dark underground burrows, right? So that is why eye also, even though if it is there, it is as if it is absent. So structurally, if you see, both are similar. That is mole, placental mammal mole, and the Australian marsupial, that is marsupial mole. But their ancestor is completely different. Both did not evolve from a same ancestor. So this is one example for a convergent evolution. Next, anteater. Anteater and the numbat. So the anteater, or this particular anteater, which is a placental mammal, might have evolved from the numbat. No, though they are structurally, they look similar to each other, their ancestor is completely different. So similarly here with that of mouse and the marsupial mouse, with that of lemur and the spotted cuscus. Both of these to look, they are almost similar, right? But their ancestor is different. Likewise, the flying squirrel and the flying phalanger. So here I have taken the example of flying squirrel and flying phalanger. Both look same exactly. Both can fly. They have all the characteristics which are same, but their ancestor is completely different. Flying squirrel, actually it looks more like, or studies show that their common ancestor was a primate, that is a monkey, ape or something. It was a primate. So here the flying squirrel, actually it originated from primates. They are said to have evolved from primates, whereas flying phalanger did not evolve from primate. Their organism or ancestor animal was completely different. But look at them, both are almost similar. Their structure, their habitat, the way they live in that particular habitat, everything is same. Just like that, talking about bobcat and the Tasmanian tiger cat. Both have the names cat because they look like Felix, that is the cats, right? But their ancestors are completely different. Just like that, the wolf and the Tasmanian wolf. Wolf is more of a dog breed, but the Tasmanian wolf is not. So here, the wolf and dog breed, they have a different ancestor, though their hunting habitat, hunting habit and the way they live, their body structure, everything is almost similar to each other. So that is about convergent evolution. So all these organisms, though they look similar, they have evolved from different organisms, or different ancestral organisms or creatures. But why do they actually look similar? They actually look similar is because these two look similar because their habitat is deep under the ground, right? They bury under the ground. That is why they have the same features which help them to live in that particular habitat. Just like that, anteaters, they have a long tongue, sticky tongue, so that it can directly stick onto the ant and it can eat the ant, right? But why do they have sticky tongues, long thread-like sticky tongues? It is because they feed on the ant. So they have developed characters which are similar, but their ancestor is completely different. Likewise here, mouse and the marsupial mouse. Marsupial mouse, they are mainly of Australian region wherein they thrive in the desert. So, but this mouse, they also can thrive in any of the environmental conditions, but their ancestral origin is completely different. Likewise, lemur and spotted cuscus and all the other organisms also, their ancestral origin is completely different, though they look similar as if they have come from the same ancestor. So this is about convergent evolution, which is a kind of biological evolution. Next, talking about biological evolution, we need to remember Lamarck, right? Lamarck's theory. So Since a young age, since our primary classes, we have studied about Lamarck's theory, wherein we were very curious to know about the giraffes, right? So what did Lamarck say? He put forward a theory of use and disuse of organs. So what he said was, if you use an organ, it will be with you throughout, and if you don't use them, it will be lost. That is somewhat true. To some extent, it is true, because tail, do we human beings have tail? No, it is not there, it is lost, right? Or gill slits, so the gill slits, that is the vestigial gill slits that are there, which is present in the embryonic stage, will not be present in the adult stage. Why? Because we don't need gills. Are we water dwellers? No, we are terrestrial dwellers, right? That is why. So here, use and disuse of organs was put forward by Lamarck's theory. So when he was talking about use and disuse of organs, he actually told the example of giraffe. So according to Lamarck, what he said was, earlier the giraffes had short neck. So lots of grasses were there present below. So at that time, these giraffes started to feed on the grasses that were present on the ground. The growth of the grasses diminished, or the grasses completely perished. They had to depend on trees for feeding, or for eating the leaves or herbs, right? So they started to eat the leaves that were present at the lower level of the tree. So later on, once all the leaves that were present on the lower level of the tree got perished, they started to feed on the leaves that were present on the higher level, or the higher branches of the tree. And that is when, since they started to lift their head and feed on the branches, feed on the leaves that are present on the higher level branches of the tree, their neck became long during a course of time. That is what he said. But is it true? There were also other animals which were feeding on the grass, such as zebra and all that. Did their neck become long, just like the giraffes? No, that is why nowadays nobody believes this conjecture. So this is just theoretical. There is no evidence for that. This is what Lamarck actually said. He put forward the use and the disuse of organs. But this theory, actually nowadays nobody believes on that if you use the organ, it will be present. If you don't use it, it will be lost. Or changes like this, like how you use the organ, based on that the development of the organ will take place. So all that nowadays people will not believe. So that was Lamarck's theory, that is use and disuse theory, which to some extent during that time was important to understand biological evolution, but today it is no longer being used. Next is about the work of Thomas Malthus. So Thomas Malthus, a scientist, Thomas Malthus, he worked on a population of animals or organisms, and he got influenced by Darwin. That is Darwin's theory of natural selection. He got influenced, and he said that natural selection is based on certain observations which are factual. So they are factual. Why? Because natural selection deals with gene, and any genetic experiment we conduct, it is always factual, right? So here he said natural selection is based on certain observations which are actually factual. That is, it is based on facts. Say for example, the natural resources are limited. Populations are stable in size except for seasonal fluctuation, right? So all these are stable. Like say for example, natural resources. Natural resources are limited. So that is based on observation, right? So all that is based on factual observation. You look into something, you survey an area, you'll understand in that particular area natural resources are limited. In this particular area it is abundant. So all that. Next is populations are stable. By looking at a population, by surveying a particular area, you can say in this particular area the population has been stable throughout the year, or the population has diminished in this particular season, it has become more in this particular season. All that we can tell. It is factual, right? By looking we can tell. So that is it. So populations are stable in size except for seasonal fluctuation. And he also said that members of a population vary in characteristic. That is also true. Based on the characteristic, the members of a population vary because every individual will not have the same characteristic. In fact, no two individuals are alike. That is very, very true. By looking at the population itself, you can say this one is not like the other, right? No two individuals will have the same characteristic. At least a minute variation will be there in spite of the genes being inherited, in spite of the factors being inherited, right? Because we do not inherited exactly all the same genes that our parents have. We also have our own set of genes, right? So that is why no two individuals will look exactly the same or will have exactly the same characteristic in a population. That we can say by look around in your house itself. You have different characteristics. You will have some characteristics which your parents will not have. So that is also factual here, even though they look superficially similar. So most of the variations are inherited. All these are some of the examples put forward by Thomas Malthus. So he got inspired by Darwin's work on natural selection, and that is when he said that whatever theory we put forward for evolution based on natural selection, it is true because it is based on facts. It is based on what we see. Darwin, he also put forward his theory. Did he do some experiments and then put forward his theory of natural selection? No. When he was visiting different places during voyage, what he saw in those places, that is what he said. And what we see, they are the factuals, or they are the facts. So these are some of the examples for biological evolution by Thomas Malthus, wherein he got inspired by Darwin's theory of natural selection. So this was about today's session, wherein we studied about adaptive radiation. We understood what adaptive radiation is, wherein a particular species evolve into different forms in one particular geographical area and they get distributed all over. So that is adaptive radiation. We studied about Darwin's finches, and also we studied about the that is Australian marsupial mammals, from which other placental mammals have evolved, right? And also we studied about biological evolution, wherein we studied about two important key concepts which is important for Darwin's theory of natural selection, and also we studied about the convergent evolution, and also we studied how, based on Darwin's theory, one scientist Malthus, he actually got inspired on Darwin's theory of natural selection, and he said that the theory of natural selection is actually factual. It is based on facts, and it can be one of the important theory which can be considered in order to understand evolution of different life forms. So in the coming session, we shall discuss about mechanism of evolution, like how exactly the organisms evolved, and there is one principle which is put forward by Hardy-Weinberg. There are certain graphical representations. So we can, by looking at this Hardy-Weinberg's principle, we can understand how exactly the organisms might have evolved. So all this we shall deal in the coming session. Thank you.